All right, let's get this started. Again, big thank you to all those who are on. This is something at Utah Celtic that we really pride ourselves in, and we're really excited to be able to offer lots of different levels and platforms for players. Let me kind of give a quick introduction. Myself and then Jeff Lewis, he'll be speaking on this as well. I'll let Jeff give an introduction when we get to him. So quick introduction. My name's Caitlin Young, and I have been a part of Celtic now for about 22 years. So I was originally a player here at Celtic on, I believe, the fourth or fifth Celtic team ever created. So I played at Celtic all through my youth career, and to say I bleed green is an absolute understatement. I love this club. I've now been here full time for about 8 years, and I lay in bed every night, super grateful for the opportunity that I have to engage with these athletes and represent a club that really shaped me as a human, right? I always say that soccer made me made me a better wife. It made me a better mom. It's made me a better citizen, and I'm eternally grateful for it. So that's why I continue to do this work and really hope to share that experience with all the other kids that we get to interact with, and just a glimpse of hope that hopefully we can have a big impact on their life. So a couple things. We always come back to this, and I speak about Celtic as a whole and what makes Celtic special. We do believe that we are a unique, special club, and we do believe that we do it right. And there's a handful of things that we really tie into, and it's essentially our core values. And when we talk about our core values, it's something that as a club director, I'm extremely proud to say that majority of our coaches live by these four core values. They know them, they understand them, they live by them. And for us as a club, these are it's a philosophy with core values that have stemmed from it that really help us drive our decisions. So I kind of want to talk about them. First one is balance. What does balance mean? And what does balance mean from a soccer standpoint? Essentially, balance means that we want kids to have a balanced life. We don't ever want kids to be punished for um, going to family activities. In these platform leagues, which is all here, we don't want to punish kids for not playing on Sunday. We want there to be life balance. We understand that soccer is an important part of these kids' lives, and it's a big part of their lives, but it's not the only thing in their lives. Multi-sport athletes, these are all things that we support and we endorse for a handful of reasons. Research is telling us that eliminates burnout. It keeps kids engaged. It keeps soccer fresh. And it also really helps us develop soccer players. Multi-sport athletes are really important. So we do believe and we foster this idea of balance. It's a really critical thing. And as even we engage in these platform leagues, how do we still maintain balance? And we can kind of continue to talk about that. The next one is development. One of my favorite things here is when I have new players come from a different club and they kind of look at me and they scratch their head when I talk, when I teach soccer. And at the end of the day, it's because we do things different here at Celtic. We play different, we use terminology that's different, and we feel that we have a really strong blueprint for success. We've won more national championships than any other club. We have teams that are, I think Jeff, you may have to correct me, have 4 teams qualified for national championships this year. Even in the GA, we have 4 of our 6 teams that are qualified for the national championships. So we do believe that what we are doing, the development that we are using as a club is proven. And so we take kids from a young age, and as we're developing 6, 7, 8-year-olds, it is for this end picture in mind. So we do believe in what we're doing with development. The next one is character. This is something that unfortunately we sometimes see waivers in the soccer world or in the sports world, where with emotions get high and the competition gets high, we really try as a staff to express strong character and teach strong character. So many life lessons are learned through sports. I've engaged with a lot of you that are on this call. I engage with a lot of parents in the sports world, and everyone says, hey, at the end of the day, I have my kids play because it's going to make them a better human. And we believe that. That's my personal experience. That's why we do this, is we want to develop life lessons and we want to develop character in our athletes. And then the last one is success. As holistic as we are, and we do see a big picture for these kids and the athletes and the role that soccer plays in their life, we as well want to be very successful. And success is dependent on the athletes in front of us. For some athletes, we're looking at success as them being a lifelong soccer lover. But on the other side, and part of these platform leagues, I tell the soccer staff all the time, we are here to be the best club in the country. We want to prove ourselves. We want to prove ourselves in the GA. We want to prove ourselves to be one of the best clubs in the country. And so success also comes with a high ticket, and it's something that we really value, and it's something that we are constantly reaching for. We're constantly innovating. We're constantly asking ourselves, how do we be the best we can be to be successful? So these four core values, like I mentioned earlier, they really do drive our decision making, and they drive our environments, and they drive the way we engage as a staff with these athletes. So let's look at the big why. Like, why platform leagues? And this was a decision that I had to make 3 years ago as a club director. Why are we pulling out of UYSA and joining it? Our first league was the Girls Academy. And there's a handful of reasons that it became very clear for us. So the number one reason is a developmental environment. When we look at the development of athletes, the environment is crucial. The environment in which players compete in daily trainings is super important, but the environment that athletes compete in their matches is one of the most important things that we can do. And there's a handful of reasons that these platform leagues aid to player development. So a couple of them. Number one is standards. I want everyone to close their eyes and think of the worst soccer field that you've played in Utah. It's terrible, right? These are things that we are trying to eliminate through these developmental standards. We're looking at how do we develop these athletes, what standards need to be in place. And that was a big reason of why we decided to join platform leagues, and why we continue to stay in platform leagues is because of the standards that are given there. The next one is proper competition. It is so crucial for player development that there's parity across competition, that we want to compete with the best. In order to be the best, we have to compete with the best. And we hope, we cross our fingers, we work hard to be successful. But even if we're not, even if we do lose a game, it gives us a really good benchmark of where we need to go. So we thrive and we encourage proper competition. And that is a big reason that these platform leagues supply us. They give us constant, consistent competition, which leads to my next point, is that consistency. There are a handful of games, the season gets long. Youth athletes are not always consistent, but over the handful of years that we've been a part of these platform leagues, every player has been able to receive the highest level of competition at a consistent level that's right for their development. The next one's exposure. As we do a lot of this work and we strive to be the best, exposure is crucial for a handful of reasons. Number one, it's most athletes' goal. Very few players, and there are a handful, but for the most part, the players who want to engage in these leagues, they want to be exposed to the best. So exposure against best players in the country, but also college, right? We want to make sure that colleges are in front of our athletes and that our athletes get to perform in front of these college coaches. The next one is youth national teams. We had one of our players this year. She was a full national team player on the U16 national team, and she was identified at a Girls Academy event. So the exposure is incredible. It really allows athletes to reach their goals based off of their skill level, based on for colleges or even bigger, which is youth national teams. So the exposure is really consistent. It's really strong. And those are the things that we're looking for. The last point of what I've identified as the why is it's efficient, is we can get good standards, proper competition, consistent competition, exposure all in one weekend. There's not very many other ways you can do that. You can travel to tournaments. You can go to Vegas Cup or Surf Cup, but even those are showing none of the consistencies that I just listed above. So this is one way that we can be very efficient with our athletes' time, the financial matters that it takes to play in these leagues. We know that we can get all these things within one weekend, within one event. So these platform leagues are very efficient for the athletes and their development and to be exposed to achieve their goals. So we do have 2 platforms here at Utah Celtic, which is really powerful. And we are part of the Girls Academy League. In addition to that, we are a part of E64, which is pretty impressive. That is a club that we have deep enough very talented players that we've been accepted into 2 top elite leagues. There's a lot of leagues that pop up and down, but when you're doing your research, these 2 leagues are 2 of the top 3, which is pretty impressive. So I'm actually going to turn the time over to Jeff. Jeff is going to be able to kind of talk about the E64, and then I'll come back on and I will finish talking about the Girls Academy.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for the time tonight. And unfortunately, you're going to have to look at my name instead of my face, as my camera is not working, unfortunately. But quick backdrop on me. As many of you know, I used to run another club here in South Utah County, Utah Storm. And we just merged this past year. And one of the big reasons for me to merge was to be a part of a club that could be part of platform teams so that we can make sure that that our teams, both boys and girls, have options to be seen at the national level and compete in platform leagues. After the first year, I've been extremely happy with it. It's been great to see all the things that Caitlin just spoke about on the previous slide come true. I have this past year coached 2 teams in the GA and 1 team in E64 on the boys side. And I can say that even with some of our older players being seniors, we have had great college exposure, and we've actually committed a lot of seniors that I wonder if we would have been able to if we were just some regular showcases and other events. And so it's nice to be with the program for just 1 year and already seeing the success with the GA League, and then also seeing the great competition that we're getting at the E64 League through the US Youth Soccer National League. So E64 is our top league for our boys in our program, and it is for our second teams on the girls side. And as Caitlin mentioned, through National League, through E64, we have 4 teams that have already qualified themselves for the national event coming up in July. And those are girls and boys teams. So even we're showing that we're deep enough that we can get to those national competitions in the GA side, but also on our second level on the girls side. And then our boys side is finding that success as well. So it's great to see that we're finding success at 2 high-level platform leagues. The E64 National League is what is ran by US Youth Soccer, which is the parent company, or not the parent company, but the company that UYSA, Utah Youth Soccer Association, reports through. And it's the largest youth competitive sports program in the nation. So US Youth Soccer does a great job of providing our players a place to play. And E64 National League is the place that they have decided to allow people to congregate at the top level, get seen, and have that consistent competition like Caitlin mentioned. So if you can pop over to the next slide real quick here, Clayton, to give us just kind of a quick picture of what our events look like next year for E64. You'll see here that there is several pathways to the national championships. The nice thing here is that there's 2 different pathways, and in the E64, we would be following the yellow pathways. Our girls on the left side, they would have events that are going to be in Mesa, and our boys will have those events as well. This year, we will split our boys programs. Our 2 boys programs that are not in high school will attend the yellow slot on the side, November 1st to the 5th. And then if they advance there, they will attend the semifinals for National League in Oceanside, California, May 2nd and 6th. And then all of our girls teams will follow the pathway that gives them November 8th to 12th. So still out of our high school league, which is great. And if they perform and move on out of that event, then they will move on to Oceanside in May as well. So the difference this year is that our boys side will be following the far left square on the top. This pathway allows our boys to avoid any conflict with high school, which is great. And this year we had our oldest 3 boys attend this event. Next year, our oldest 4 boys will attend. So their first round of playoffs will be January 17th to the 21st in Mesa. And then if they qualify out of that, then they will move on to Round Rock, Texas, February 21st to the 25th. And then all those teams will end up in the national championships. Now, these national championships are the same pathway that teams can achieve through winning their conference play in E64. And they can also win it in the current setup by winning regionals after State Cup. So by entering the E64, we afford our teams several pathways to allow us to go to the National Championship Series. And it allows us the best chance that we can to represent. And us having 4 teams in E64 and this year has been great. Having 4 teams in the GA has been great as well. So we're showing we can compete and move on to the top level. You can pop to the next slide, Caitlin. These are some of the things that E64 has identified that they want to continue to improve on and work on. We'll go through them really quick here, but they want to make sure that all roads lead to a consistent national championships. So if you're playing in a U.S. Youth Soccer League, that you can find a true championship from within that organization. Also, they are looking to reduce unnecessary travel. So they're trying to get more regionalized and have less events where numbers allow them to still get the high level of competition. They are working on more college scouts. I do know that sometimes E64 is hit and miss depending on the event. I can tell you that on the boys side this year, when we were in the second round of playoffs, there was a tremendous amount of college coaches there. And I'm excited to see how many may be at nationals coming up here in July. And then we talk about recognizing the winners, allowing players to have that notoriety and be recognized as doing very well within the leagues. They're also working on having more meaningful games so that games aren't just being played for no reason, but each game has a way to advance or a way to matter for the year for the players. This lets the players take the game seriously. I think coaches prepare better for the game through scouting and through really creating a good game plan. So meaningful games really makes it so that these players can focus on what's coming up. They're also a big part of what they're doing is they're creating different ways that players can be recruited, making sure that games are being filmed. They do offer some services at their events that can help to clip films, which is great. And that helps to create a highlight reel for our players. And then we look at the remaining things, giving us ourselves a great talent ID so that teams can be identified or players can be identified by playing with their teams at the top level. They do their best to avoid conflicting events, which is why you saw on the prior slide 2 separate pathways to play depending on what your high school season looks like. So we can be supported and supportive of high school for the kids that want to do that. And then at the end of the day, they do work a lot on coach education. They try to give coaches opportunities to learn by some educational moments that they have and different activities that coaches can attend. So these are kind of the things that the U.S. Youth Soccer is working on through the National League and E64. If you want to pop over to the next one. These are the clubs that are in our conference. For those of you that were involved in E64 last year, there's been a few changes. OPFC is gone from the boys club. There's now, it's called Alaska Cook Inlet Club, which is out of Alaska. The good news is that we don't have to travel to Alaska. Well, good or bad news, because it might be a nice trip, but it keeps it close to home. Alaska will travel to us for all of their games, either us or up to Washington. The girls club, Boise will be out of the competition this year, and Atletico XC out of Oregon will join them. So with this conference, it allows us to travel for one conference weekend up to Washington for both the boys and the girls. We are looking at the boys travel weekend to be the 2nd or 3rd week of September. And then the girls weekend, we're currently working on either doing something in October or possibly in the March timeframe, and we should know those dates soon. And then there is home events as well, where we'll play the home teams being USA and Sparta in the boys club and USA on the girls club. And then these opponents will travel and play here at home. So you really have one travel event away. You have a hosted event here for the other teams to travel to, and then we play our local teams. So between the playoffs that we're in, the opportunity to travel to the second round of playoffs or nationals, and then the one conference league game weekend that we travel to Washington, you can see they're trying to limit travel as much as they can to keep it affordable and come up with ways to still compete at the top level. So that's kind of a quick snip of what the year would look like. This is kind of a breakdown of it. 1 to 2 season travel events, 3 to 4 games each. This year with our bracket, we should have the first travel event will be the quarterfinals of playoffs, which E64 automatically qualifies for. And then if we can make the second event as well, that's great. And then those teams that go to nationals get a bonus travel weekend. And then we'll have 2 home season weekend events, 3 to 4 games each. This is what we talked about. We are still planning on playing in the UPL for the boys, and then the UISA League for the girls on the E64 side. This is a little bit up for conversation right now with UISA. We have a meeting this week to see what the UPL will look like next year. So we'll update everybody as soon as we have additional details. The base behind the UPL was that it worked great for the boys last fall, but the spring schedule ended up being extremely difficult for either remaining boys teams or the girls teams that played in our GAA side. And so they're talking about possibly trying to do something with the boys in the fall, like it worked well last year, and then possibly moving the girls side into a January, February indoor. And that would be the UPL for the boys and the UPL for our girls side, or any of our girls sides at one state cup. This creates 2 pathways to nationals. So the players don't have to be a one loss and they're out, but it opens up doors for the players, which we absolutely love. And now we're on to the Girls Academy with you, Caitlin. Caitlin, you're still muted. Oops.
There we go. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, Chef. We've really been grateful for the opportunity to compete in E64. Just another avenue by the largest sporting organization in the country to provide a good event, a good pathway for our athletes. So we're really grateful for that time in E64, and it's been really successful. So shifting gears, so Girls Academy League. So our Girls Academy League, this is where our top teams from U13 up within those 6, 11v11 age groups, they'll compete in. So I will kind of want to touch base and make sure that I'm articulating why the Girls Academy League is so special. So first of all, it is a league for girls, and it is a league ran by women, and it is a league that is constantly taking the feedback of female athletes. So as we work through things and women's bodies, the periodization, the development is very different. And the Girls Academy League does an excellent job at serving the female game. As we were kind of shopping around at the beginning of this, there were a handful of things that really won us over with it. I'm not going to read this verbatim, but a couple of things that we really like is kind of how I mentioned earlier, that there's a lot of ownership within our players with the GA. We have players that are in the club that serve on committees. I believe there are 6 of them that serve on service committees in the GA. They serve on player advisory panels within the GA. And it's been really amazing the last couple of years to see their effects go into play in the league. So it's not falling on deaf ears, but they're constantly trying to develop the most proficient female game and give these athletes the best player experience possible. So we are very pleased with the GA. We believe the product they're putting out, it's only getting better. And they're still in their maybe toddler stage. They're in their 4th year. So I want to give a little backstory. The U.S. Soccer Federation, they had a league called the Development Academy. And Development Academy was the highest level league possible in the country. And they had extremely strict standards, really catering to players that they were hoping to develop for their national team. And then 2020, through email, all of a sudden, the Development Academy disappeared. So all of these clubs that were part of the Development Academy found out via email that they all of a sudden didn't have a league, that US Soccer was no longer able to support that. And so that's when the Girls Academy came and they said, hey, we will create a league for you. And a lot of those have started to come through. And so the Development Academy really kind of was adopted by the Girls Academy. So we're in the 4th year of Girls Academy. Like I said, they continue to get stronger and stronger and better and better. So a little bit about our conference. There are 2 teams in Las Vegas, so Albion and LVSA. And then there's two clubs in Colorado. There has been a change. So Colorado United is new to the league this year. And then there's also 2 teams in New Mexico. And then there's us here in Utah as well as Wasatch. So one of the things I really appreciate about this is it is done through travel partners. So as we travel, we will go and we'll play each of these teams in one event. So we actually just got back this past weekend from Las Vegas. On Friday night, we played Albion. Saturday morning, we played LVSA. Most of us were home Saturday night. So we will always travel and play 2 teams. And then when teams travel here, we will host 2 teams. So what does this look like? We have our conference games, which are the teams that I just framed there for you. And then we also are super grateful and excited and proof to the development of our club. We are part of Champions League. This is our 3rd year in the league. This is our 3rd year being qualified for Champions League. So Champions League is the top of the GA. So what they do is they take the top 16 clubs in the whole league and they put us into an elite tournament essentially. And it's a title not only to prove yourself as a team, but it's also a race to prove yourself as the top club. I want to talk a little bit more on Champions League. So one of my roles within soccer is I scout for national teams. I'm a scout for US Soccer. And Champions League is one of the highest scouted events in the country. There are scouts everywhere. I mean, you go to these events and there are national team scouts at every single game. I'm fortunate enough right now, I coach the 2008 girls, which is in the prime of their peak of college recruiting. These girls are all the next class to be recruited by colleges. And in one game alone, we had about 90 college coaches on our sideline. So Champions League is the top of the top, and it is an extremely elite event full of every opportunity that the players could get. Opportunities to play against the best and to be scouted by the best. So we're really excited. We actually, this past weekend, based off of those results, we were able to clinch Champions League again for the 3rd year in a row. So with our schedules, I'll kind of zoom over this because I already talked about it. 14 games total. We play each team twice, 1 home, 1 away. The national events, which for us will be Champions League and then playoffs. So Champions League has the 2 events, so November, March. And then if you qualify, which again, this year we had 4 of our 6 teams qualify, they get to go to playoffs, in the National Championship Series in June and July. Champions League, we do not know the location yet of the event in November. This past year, it was held in Northern California. In March, it is always hosted at IMG in Florida, which again is an absolute world-class event. It is I've been, as a national team scout, I've been to millions of events, and it is by far one of the best hosted and put on events in the country. So let's look at kind of the cost of it and how that looks. So there is the normal club fee, and club fee pays for fields, registration systems, anything that's behind the scenes, our painting, our lawn mowing guy, all the things that go behind the scenes is covered by our club fee. From that, the Girls Academy League and E64, there is travel involved. So it is managed per team, and we've seen it done a lot of different ways. We've seen teams say, hey, we're going to do this on a budget. We're going to rent 13 passenger vans and we're driving to Washington together. We've also seen teams that have admins that are the absolute rock to the whole system, and they put a ton of time in and they find flights for everybody. We've also seen teams say, hey, everyone travel on their own. So we leave that up to the coach and the admins and the families usually is based off of age, kind of seems to be the trend of how people are making their decision. So in addition to travel, then obviously there's the food and hotel and rental car. On average, we've been able to save for flights. This is flights if you're doing it as a team, food and hotel and rental cars. It's around $500 per trip. And then on top of that, the operational cost. So there is an additional fee of being a part of this league. And these type of things are the registration. We have to register. We have to pay for the players to be registered and insured through these leagues. Coaches travel runs through that fee. Trainers, one of the standards that's required at all of the events is trainers, which is it's a blessing for our players to be able to get immediate care if necessary, preventative care prior to games, and then also post care after events. So trainers are at every single event. Referees, probably one of my favorite things about these leagues is that these leagues have to, or the referees have to have a certain level of certification to ref at this level, which is really important for the development of the kids. The referees are the highest level around. So when we host games, we get the best refs with the highest level of certification in the state of Utah. And then equipment, cameras, anything like that that are required for the league, and then field rental. So field rental, we do our best to make sure that the athletes are playing on. We do a lot of high schools. We rent our fields, so the field rental is an additional cost that we try to make sure the athletes are on the highest level of grass. So these fees, club fee, as you register for tryouts and those teams are made, the club fee is just the standard. The team fee will just be varied based off of how your team decides to manage it. And then the national platform costs, we're still kind of tightening up a couple of things there to get that final number. So that is it for us. We are super, super grateful for you to spend your time. We know this is a really busy time of year, but we could not be more proud of our athletes that are in these leagues, and we could not be more proud as a club to provide pathways, and that we now have a place for everybody to play to achieve whatever their goals may be. And we're super proud as a club that we have 2 elite platforms that are very, very high quality and very well run, and provide our players with a really powerful player experience. So we really appreciate it. I'm just kind of looking at the chat here. So the around Champions League. So it's the end of November, early December. So I believe this